All right, everybody, I want to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Zoning and Housing Board of Appeals for July. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tamino.
Here.
Vice Chair Montanti. Here. Commissioner Aruda.
Here.
Commissioner Zimnowitz.
Here.
Commissioner Kendall.
Here.
Commissioner Sweet. Councilmember Matheson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Clerk, do we have any correspondence?
You have two items, but they pertain to a specific application.
Okay, so do you want to,
Your call.
okay, we'll read them into the record.
Now? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This one is from Arthur Torrey, 56 Elm Street, Zoning and Housing Board of Appeals. I am writing in opposition to the proposed use variance for 62 Elm Street. My biggest concern is the applicant's use of the term affordable apartments. Why can't he consider market rate? I don't think that this neighborhood needs more affordable apartments. Middle-income people trying to move to Oneonta can't find a decent market rate apartment. The city has shown a great deal of compassion in helping low to moderate income people finding housing. One of those projects hasn't worked out so well, witness the Deet Street lofts. Other homes have been bought and filled with students during the school year and baseball rentals during the summer. How are young families supposed to compete with that? Petitioner is correct when he states that the neighborhood has quite a few apartments and student rentals. However, let me point out that I have not had any problems with the students for the past few years during the evening. Sure, they party during the day, but that doesn't bother me. They have been decent neighbors and for the most part have been conscientious. The colleges deserve some credit for instilling the need for acceptable behavior. Let me also point out that the block where 62 Elm is located has 4 single-family homes listed on the same side of the street, and I believe that there are 3 single-family homes on the opposite side of the street. It is not all student housing and apartments. I would not like to see the block changed for the worse. Finally, let me vent somewhat. As a homeowner in Center City, why must I constantly be sent meeting notices for variances that involve changing the neighborhoods in a negative way? Why not have some positive proposals for middle-income apartments or condos? It may cost more to rehab a building for upscale units, and the owner may not be able to get subsidies or grants, but isn't it worth a try? The house at 62 Elm Street is a beautiful old Victorian building that has fallen on hard times, but I think it deserves a better proposal. Thanks for your consideration, Art Torrey. And then you have an email from Hannah Baskin, 77 Spruce Street. I would like my email to be read at the July 23rd ZBA meeting as I cannot attend in person. I am writing in support of Corey Rowe's application for converting 62 Elm Street into a multifamily home. As a neighbor to this property, I was thrilled to learn that a local buyer is planning to renovate it. This house has been rotting away for far too long and has the potential to be beautiful. The proposed project will certainly help improve our neighborhood. Housing units for non-college students are desperately needed in Oneonta, and I hope that this will encourage more local investment in Center City neighborhoods and historic homes.
Thank you. We're on to new business. I want to apologize. Last month we had to cancel the meeting at short notice, and we're all volunteers here, and so we apologize for that. And so we're glad to hear the application today. And who's here to represent 62 Elm Street, please? Just say your name and where you're from, please.
Corey Rowe, Oneonta, New York.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you please let us know what you plan to do there at 62 Elm Street, please?
Sure. 62 Elm Street, if nobody's been inside, is probably the worst shaped house that I've seen that could still be considered standing. The inside is completely destroyed. College students that were living in there let the pipes freeze and burst, and subsequently the entire house is filled with mold, as well as all their personal belongings, as well as all kinds of other things. And so it was brought to my attention that the Mohawk Valley Land Bank owned this house. I've been talking with the Mohawk Valley Land Bank to acquire the house and to renovate it. Just to quickly respond to the first letter, I didn't say low income, I said affordable. And to me, affordable means market rate. So him and I are kind of on the same page there. I'm not trying to rent it to anybody. But anyway, the purpose of what I'm trying to do is renovate the property. It's an eyesore on the city. It's been empty for almost a decade, if not more. And it's a beautiful home. And I do believe that I have the capability, the skills, and the economic position to renovate the property. I don't own the property right now. It's still under the Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank. And it's, just to be completely honest, not me that wants a variance. It's the house that needs a variance. Without a variance on that property, it has very little chance of ever being renovated. It is most likely going to be knocked down. 30 different parties went into it before me, many of them not making it past the back door before they turned it down. I am, as I am aware, the only only person that is willing to take on this project. But in order to do so, I need to turn it into apartments because it is so large. At one point, it housed 50 women during the 1950s in that era, as they were students for rugby. And so there is a plethora of rooms throughout the 2 floors. But what it does have is it has a good roof. It's got good bones. It's dry inside. It has egresses on 2 sides as well as a back staircase. So it could easily be transferred into 3 apartments. One first-floor apartment for a family that could have multiple bedrooms and multiple bathrooms. And then on the 2nd floor, you can turn that into 2 separate apartments, both with egresses, that would be safe. And with the Mohawk Valley Land Bank right now, I've agreed to purchase the property for $50,000. $12,000 of that is the purchase price of the house. The other $38,000 goes into mold abatement, asbestos testing, lead testing, and it's already passed asbestos testing. And so right now, what we're doing is we're going to clean out the house. They've allocated $15,000 for the clean out, which they've evaluated the tonnage of the stuff inside, the amount of mattresses and all that different stuff. Then we have $20,000 for mold abatement. And so I am going to, if the variance is accepted, receive the house, broom swept, all the garbage removed, all the mold removed, and I will then have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars renovating the property into a livable space. It's a huge undertaking, and I'll be honest, I'm losing sleep over it. It's a challenging project. And again, without the variance in my contract with Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank, it's not approved, I walk away.
You have anything else to say?
That's the gist of it.
All right, so our board will ask you some questions.
Please.
Okay, and then, so you said that the first floor, approximately how many square feet do you think the first floor apartment is going to be?
We haven't actually done full measurement because there's so much stuff in the way right now, but I'd say the ground floor apartment's at least 800 square feet.
Is there going to be a central entrance from the front of the house? Is that where everybody will enter the upstairs and the main living area, or the main apartment? Yeah.
So the number one step, once we get the house cleaned out, is I need to bring an engineer in there to evaluate which walls are load bearing, because it has to be chopped up in some regard. The plan is definitely for having a main front entrance, and once you enter that front entrance, it's beautiful. The staircase is still there, the chandelier is still there. You would have an entrance to a downstairs apartment, and then you would go up the stairs, and that would split into 2 different directions for the upstairs apartment. So you would have a main entrance in the front of the house, and then you have a rear entrance or rear exit for the upstairs back apartment. And there is a full staircase also on the outside of the building.
Yeah, that's fine. As far as now this is a part of the Mohawk Valley Land Bank right now, and you don't own it, they own it, right? And so the question is are these costs that you've put together for mold remediation and those sort of things, is that a requirement by them?
Yes.
So that way, okay, so they'll pay for it, and that comes out of the $50,000 that you're spending.
That's correct.
So, like you said, once you attain title of that house, it will be all. Do you attain title before this work is done or after the work is done?
No, I attain title before the work is done.
Okay.
If the variance is approved, we would complete the sale before the end of the year. The plan is to clean the place out, get everything done, and close on the property before the end of the year, variance depending.
You must have some sort of, I didn't see in the application any sort of financial statement or anything like that. The first numbers that I've heard are the ones that you're talking about here today. You must have put some numbers to paper to say how much this is going to cost and where you're going to go. Do you have an estimate as what you think that this could cost? Can you provide that to us?
Yeah, so I submitted 2 applications to the Mohawk Valley Land Bank. The first one, I had only seen the property from the outside. I saw some beds in there, I saw some woodwork, I was like, yeah, it looks pretty good. It needs new windows, needs some tree removal and stuff, and so I allocated $100,000. Then I went into the property, and I saw the state that it's in. Literally, there's no furnace, there's no electric, the plumbing needs to be completely redone, you need a sprinkler system for $30K. So my estimation is between $300,000 and $400,000 it will cost to renovate this house over 3 to 4 years. It's not going to be something that I'm, going to hire contractors at $500 a day to do. I'm going to hire contractors who are electricians and plumbers, and then I'm going to do the sheetrock myself. I'm going to do the painting myself to mitigate those costs a little bit. I'm already taking care of the property, so yeah, those are my estimated costs. It's potentially going to balloon way past that. It could cost upwards of $1 million to renovate this house properly, to be completely honest with you. And again, that's why I'm mildly losing sleep over it, because it's such a huge undertaking when you look at the basement, and literally every inch of every floor and wall and ceiling is covered in mold, and you have a circuit breaker box where all of the wires have been cut, we have to do everything from the beginning. We have to install 3 services from scratch. In order to even work in the building, there's no heat, there's no water, there's no electricity. And so I can't even start in the building until 2026. So it's going to be a huge undertaking should it proceed forward.
So, you know, part of the requirements for this particular use variance is to see, you know, the financials of the project. We don't have them in front of us. These are like numbers that you think might be the case and stuff. You know, so we're going to have to talk about that a little bit, just because, you know, we do know a solid number of what the property would cost to purchase from the land bank. And then, you know, as far as the apartments are going to be, you know, leased out at, they have to be a function of what it costs you, right, to put the whole thing together. Would this particular property be given any type of low-income tax credits? Would it be, are you going for anything that would help you mitigate the cost of this?
Yeah, I'm going after historical tax credits.
Historical
And
tax
I've already
credit.
hired Linda Flack, I forget, her name's Audrey, and she's working with me right now. She's created a historical reference document that tracks the house from its creation to today and everything that's with it. I've hired her and already paid her to proceed with part 1 of the historical tax credits and into part 2. If those are successful, then I've got to pay her again to go into part 3 of the historical tax credits. The problem is that it's not under any umbrellas. It's not in a historical zone. And so it faces challenges with that. But we wanted to get the paperwork started in the case that we're able to proceed, that at least we're trying.
You mentioned the letter that Art Torrey wrote, and you spoke to the fact that you didn't say low income. I didn't hear you say low income. You know, for you're going to have to rent this out or lose money, you know, to make it a market rate housing. You know, what can we estimate, or what are you thinking about, you know, as far as like the 3-bedroom apartment, renting the 1-bedroom, you know, did you say it was 1 bedroom and a 2-bedroom, or 2 2-bedroom
Again,
apartments?
all that is to be completely decided. I don't have everything lined out yet, just because we haven't been able to get in there with an engineer because of the current state of the building. That being said, my rents, I would try to keep less than $2,000. I mean, for the family home, you know, $1,500 plus utilities, depending on where we are in the economy. In 3 years from now, $1,500 can be nothing. At the same time, I feel like, you know, $2,000 would be the ceiling, and then they would have to pay for their utilities, which would require me to put in 3 service lines, all of that. So, you know, I'm not trying to create $5,000 a month rents or anything like that. To me, what's most interesting about the project is that it needs to be done, and that I have the ability to do so. And I love things that are complicated and take time. So I would work on it for many, many years to bring it to where it needs to be.
What happens if you get in there, like, you know, and this does cost $1 million? I mean, you know, a lot of the times when I think Mohawk Valley Land Bank, they look at, you know, who they sell the property to and their ability to complete the project, because they don't want to sell it to somebody and knowingly know that it's going to cost. You know, I think I've heard estimates from them that it might cost upwards of $500,000 to return this property back to a single-family home. You know, and we recognize that. And in some cases, like the one on Cherry Street, they decided to knock it down because the cost of remediating that building was more than what it would cost to put up a new house. So what happens if you get in there and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, the cost balloon, like you say, because you haven't really had an engineer, as you admit, to not be able to go in there and look at it as of yet. But there should be, yeah, we should be able to like get a range of costs, I believe, in my mind. I mean, there's a certain amount of square foot there, and just like they, you know, appropriated certain dollar amounts for mold remediation and asbestos testing, things like that, we should be able to get in there and get some sort of, you know, because we all want to see these types of projects succeed, and we have a couple, you know, criteria that we have to get over to approve this type of project. And so that's where we're looking for those type of more concrete type numbers, I think, you know, so we can show that, you know, and also just the plan of, you know, landscaping plan and how you're going to, you know, make the whole property look afterwards. And I know it's a lot of upfront money, it seems like, that you have to put together if it's not going to come to fruition. But there are criteria that New York State requires us to go through to approve this type of variance. And I think that that's the challenge that, you know, we're going to see. That's what I have for questions right now. I'm going to turn it over to the rest of my board.
If I can respond.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah.
I believe the estimation of $500,000 is a little bit over the top. Not to get into the weeds, but the way the Mohawk Valley Land Bank works is they're a government nonprofit.
Yeah.
They have to take honestly just rehabilitate the building as long as the economy stays the way that it is.
Okay. Lori, do you have any questions?
No, I think you kind of handled them because I was looking for the financial piece to get over the first hump of the what they require a zoning board to look at. So we would need a lot more substantial information in order to move forward. Because the first piece is, is there really a financial problem? And we have no idea what the business plan is,
For sure.
in effect.
I will say that if I don't complete the property properly, it's in my contract that the Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank can take the house back. If I have a 3-year contract and 2 6-month extensions, and I have an application that I've made to them saying the things that I would do, proving the financials that I have, and they've accepted that proposal. And so in 3 years, if I'm not done, they would come and evaluate the property, and if I have a 6-month extension, and then another one, if I get to 4 years and I have not completely successfully completed my application and what it says, they legally have the ability to take the property back. But he doesn't want to.
Anything else? Mr. Kendall, you have anything to add?
So you mentioned that you have some financial, you provided the Mohawk Valley Land Bank with some financial figures. Are those figures you could share with the zoning board?
Sure. I would absolutely be happy to share any financial information that I can provide.
I think that would be one way of getting some of that financial information that Lori and the commission have brought up.
Absolutely. It wasn't on the application that I presented today, so is there
Yeah.
another application that has more of that
It
information?
is, and I'll tell you what page it's on. It's on page 6 of 9.
I must have missed that.
Yeah, it's on page 6 of 9 of the application.
Okay.
Okay. And it underlines cannot. We cannot do a use variance, without some of these financials. And we determine what those financials are, as far as they can give them to us. And I think that understanding the scope, it's a huge scope of work that you're going to be doing there. And I think it might help some of us, overcome some of those things. Also, if you could speak to, well, let me get, Doug, do you have any more questions?
Well, at this time.
Louisa, do you have any
I have a
questions?
question, actually. So it's a very large house, obviously, and your intentions are to have it multi-two-family. But in your vision, can you see that it could actually be broken up into 3 or 4?
Well, my plan is for 3.
It is 3.
The second floor would have 2 units, the bottom
Okay,
downstairs.
I missed that, sorry.
would be 1 unit.
Okay. And what's presented in this mold remediation plan, is this what the floor looks like? Floor plan, or is this?
That is the
It
floor
is a
plan,
floor plan,
yes.
okay.
Currently.
Currently, yes. Again, they chopped that place up pretty inches. Every room's got a bunk bed in it, and every room's got a wall in it, and it's pretty unique.
No, that's all I have.
Pete, you got any?
I'd be interested to see the application of what those terms are that you were discussing as well, that you submit with the financial.
Full honesty, I'll put it out there, they accepted my first application, and I presented a second application to the board. They did not review it and accept it because they wanted to accept my first one. My first application with the Land Bank, as I stated, was only from an outside view. My second application, which was not taken into their consideration because they didn't want to bring it back in front of their board and do the thing again, they wanted to move forward with the process. So there's substantial differences between the two things that, the two different proposals that I made. So I'm happy to present them to the zoning board so you guys can see it. I'll present both to you because I'm not just going to follow the first one. I have to do the second one once I saw the inside of the building. So I'm happy to present financials and the applications that I made to the law.
I just think some of those terms might help put some of the board members at ease for their concerns, so I would like to see that.
Yeah, what's up, Steve?
Could I just make a request that I meet the applicant, we discuss what would be the application that's
Yeah. One of the things I would like to talk about is, in this particular zone, the city has prioritized, single-family homes. And so one of the things that we have to go over is, we don't want to deteriorate that code, process there. We want to make sure that we're, you know, living up to the standard that we need to. There was, as your account is, there was always a lot of people living in that particular house. I mean, I think, was it 2018 that became vacant, I think? Do you-
No, it was approximately 2017.
Yeah, that, in 2018, I think they lost their use in 18.
But prior to that, the fraternity had been like kind of used as a flop house, so it wasn't really. It's not been used as a home for
A long time, yeah. So it's sat vacant at least for 7 years now, 8 years, probably,
yeah.
at least. Not utilized as a whatever house they were
It's
using
like
it
one
as.
kid living in a closet.
Sure, I get that. You know, and we want to just talk a little bit about the uniqueness of the property and how this is, you know, in a situation, not, it shares a uniqueness to that neighborhood. What, you know, and talk about that. I think that would be cool.
Sure, I was just to say, it was built in the late 1800s, it's a Queen Anne style house, and it's got ornate trim and ornate woodwork throughout the house. As usual in a Queen Anne in that area of time when they built houses, everything, all the money was put up front. So in the back parts of the building, you have, you know, more basic trim and things of that nature. And of course, over the years, it's been, I don't want to say destroyed, but heavily damaged in a lot of different ways from use of the fraternity. And so, like, the bathroom's completely ripped out. There's nothing in there. People broke into the house and stole the pipes at some point. So it's in pretty rough shape.
I think also, you know, part of the plan being, if we could get a scope of the project plan and what you actually want to do, you know, and keeping the condition of the Victorian Anne style, like you said, in the outside, in the front yard, and those types of things, and some of, maybe just a preliminary landscape plan, some things like that, so we can maintain what the character of the particular neighborhood is there, you know, where, you know, in some respects, the amount of people that are living there is probably going to be a lot less than was living there before, and in the same regards, if we're maintaining the way that in which the property looks, with the other properties around it, I think that that's an important part of the plan as well.
Full disclosure, I considered my first step being cleaning up the outside of the house for the neighborhood.
Sure.
Just cutting down the trees, removing the bushes, and painting the house. Doing that would just make it look, and of course taking down the blackboards that are covering the windows, installing security cameras and things of that nature. Because I do want the neighborhood to welcome the house. I'm not trying to do this against anyone who doesn't want it there or thinks it's going to be a problem. So in my opinion, some of the first money that I can put into it would be cleaning up the outside so that the rest of the neighborhood looks nice, and then I can work inside and do the inside over a number of years.
Would you be able to put that in, articulate that into a scope of work in an application that you could provide us, that we could see words on paper that this is what you're going to do and your plan is?
For sure.
I think that would better help everybody here on the board understand exactly what you're trying to do, just not hearing it. I think we get the gist of what you would like to try to do, but to overcome some of these criteria that we have to, I think that would be a great idea.
I'd be happy to do so.
Is the board okay with this? I mean, how does everybody feel about this right now? Is there anybody?
Without that information, I don't feel we could move ahead, so that would be wonderful to see.
I'd like to, I don't know if anybody's here to speak about this property in the audience. Is there anybody here to speak about it here tonight? Want to give anybody an opportunity to speak about it? And nobody? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Well, I'm not going to speak about the property. It sounds like a great idea, but anyway, my name is...
Could you state your
Lee
name?
Fisher,
Thank you.
only out of New York. I thought this was going to be the meeting that dealt with the fraternities and sororities and the people that live around those areas, but did you have that meeting already?
I don't know about that meeting, personally.
Because we always have a meeting, and they always contact, you know, the people who are within the radius of.
They
like,
haven't had that meeting yet.
They haven't?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
But you'll get a notice when we do.
Okay. all
Is it
right.
about 6971 Spruce?
72.
72.
I'm right across from
Yep.
Alpha Sig.
Yep, Alpha Sig, yep.
Okay.
You'll get the notice.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Fisher.
Mr. Fisher.
All right, I'm going to close the public comment. Would somebody be willing to, is the next meeting enough time for you to get this information?
For sure.
Okay. Could I get a motion maybe from the board to table this particular application until the next board meeting,
August 27th.
August 27th, 2025, when the applicant will address those particular things that we brought up in question. Being, go ahead.
So moved.
Okay. We'll give it first.
Doug has it.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tomino,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Tanti.
Yes.
Commissioner Ruda.
Yes.
Commissioner Zimnowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Kendall.
Yes.
Mr. Rowe, please see, the code officer, and then you guys can discuss, if you don't understand what exactly we're looking for. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for offering that, Steve. Awesome. Thanks.
All right, the next application is for the property address 60 Chestnut Street. Who's here to talk about that?
Yeah, so it's for the library, and I'm here to represent the library.
And could you just state your name and what you do?
Yep, I'm Alexander Benjamin, I'm the director of the Huntington Memorial Library. So we purchased, well, next week actually, closing on 14 Church Street, which is a vacant lot right now, it was a house that burned down. The plan is to add our garage there, incorporated into some, and we would like to add 2 parking spots to the front of that. We have parking issues with everyone else in the city, so it was a really easy thing.
Was 14 Church Street, do you have anything else to say about it?
Oh, no, that's all I got.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
Okay. So what's on 14 Church Street now?
A vacant lot.
It's a vacant lot.
Just a
There was
vacant-
house fire, the house was a total loss.
Yep.
It's just been leveled.
When was that house fire?
I actually know you.
I would say 4 or 5 years. It's been more than 3 years. It was prior to that.
And what we're looking for here today is a,
It's an area there. Good place to park.
okay. Doug, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I was trying to understand the diagram. Which end of this is Church Street?
Church Street is the street on the diagram.
The one I'm seeing, the diagram I'm looking at, is the red one.
White text on very pink with Doug.
Yeah.
I don't see the street.
Oh, it's, where it says 30 by 18, that's Church Street.
30 by, okay. So
Oh, that's Church
that
Street?
helps me out.
That's Church Street.
Because I
This is,
definitely,
we haven't had any architects or anyone look at the actual property to construct this, so this is the specs that were described to them. It's kind of a crude one.
so the rest of the library property is the side where it says parking spots, question
Yes.
mark?
Yeah.
So the access to those parking spots would be from Church Street?
Church Street, yes.
There's an existing curb cut and driveway
From where the
was.
house-
Yep.
So that yellow delineation is where we can actually go, and then the next spot in front of that is what we're looking to add.
We're looking at both parking spots, is that what you're asking?
So you're looking to add 2 parking spots then?
Yes.
Okay. Steve, this was the entire lot of where the house was before?
Yes.
And as far as the how much space the house took up, this is less than what the actual old house used to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This structure's
The
at
old
that,
house was like a 2.5 story.
Yeah.
Full size.
and as far as the footprint of that house, I gotta imagine it was probably a little longer than 40 foot maybe,
Yes.
but it was probably the same width of 25 foot, probably,
Yes, approximately.
approximately, okay. Doug, do you have any other questions?
Not right now.
Or do you have any questions?
And I'm trying to figure out, as I'm looking at this and figuring out where you said finally Church Street is, on the left-hand side of this drawing, is that Huntington Park? You said it's
The park
library.
is below the drawing where it says parking spots, that's actually the park. So we've gotten a lot line variance already to add
Yeah.
to the property. It'll just be on the property. So there's a.
So the actual library property, they did a lot line adjustment.
Okay.
So this parcel is now part of.
I understand.
a larger.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's integrated into those lines.
yeah, so the setback isn't really a concern.
Yeah.
The issue is.
Is the front yard parking
Code
here?
doesn't allow for front yard parking.
Isn't there parking there already, though, on part of that parcel?
Originally,
The
there
driveway.
was when the house burned down, but
Ye-
now it's just,
There
it
was a
hasn't been
driveway.
parking on it. People were parking there illegally.
Oh, they were parking there illegally.
Yes.
But the driveway pulled in there like that, so there was parking there. I mean,
Right, yeah, there was parking for the house.
yeah. And so, is the this entire footprint going to be concrete? Is it going to be stone? Is it going to be asphalt pavement? What are you looking here to do?
It'll be grass except for the driveway and the 2 parking spots. I'm looking to make it appear as part of the park.
So in front of the so the 30 foot is Church Street, and that's where the curb cut is,
Yes,
and you drive in there,
yep,
and the only thing paved is going to be those 2 parking spots
and the driveway,
and the driveway.
yes.
But to the left, if I'm looking at this diagram, to the left of that driveway will be grass.
Yeah,
No,
the
yes,
park.
yes, and it
I'm gonna
cascades
maintain
down.
as much grass as possible, I'm not looking to disrupt the park with this building.
Is the driveway as wide as is this thing being called a garage?
Yes,
It's going to have 1 overhead door? 2?
I mean, we haven't designed the garage yet, so it's kind of open to whatever fits code, honestly. When you say, so it'll have a wide enough entrance for a tractor, it's gonna store parking in its equipment.
I'm just wondering if the driveway is going to be 25 foot wide.
I don't think so. I don't see why it would be.
Because the building's 25 foot,
The-
and it's hard for us to see.
Yeah, I think what they're asking is, are you planning on making the driveway like a single car width wide, or are we talking like a 4 car, like a curb cut?
Oh,
we
it'll
have-
be
we
a
have-
single car width. So the equipment we're gonna buy is partially to maintain the sidewalks in the
Okay.
library. So, I mean, you can picture it's about the width of the sidewalks in the library footprint now. Probably
So-
slightly larger.
Yes, Lee?
So, why are these parking spots necessary to be right there in the front of the property?
Yeah, it's just an opportunity for us to increase parking.
I mean, is it,
So we
is
can't.
it good for your patrons? They're not gonna use this.
No, it's gonna be for staff. So it'll be for our maintenance man. We can't add parking anywhere else on the grounds because we can't make changes to parking. So it's really, and the purchase of this property, parking isn't the portion of this. It's just an opportunity to add parking to each other. We need a small amount of our parking homes. And this only increases our parking homes.
Steve, with this lot line adjustment, how large is that? It's got to be, it's a huge,
Yeah,
pro- so it fits within the overall footprint. It's very small comparative to the entire property. I think, I don't want to speak for you, but you're talking about why can't those parking spots be closer to the garage? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it is actually.
We could make that change.
I mean, so they didn't seem on the street kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, we could absolutely make that change.
So Alex, when you say that you're going to try to maintain as much grass as possible, again, where those parking spots are going, is that gonna be asphalt,
That's gonna be concrete.
concrete or asphalt?
Yeah.
So, back to the question of, will all of the 25 feet from the curb to the utility building, would that all be concrete asphalt?
Probably.
Okay. 25 by 40, that's quite large. I'm trying to think.
I mean, it's a maintenance garage.
Right. And what is this from?
It's 1,000 square feet, right?
Yeah, it's just 1,000 square
It's
feet.
just 1,000, it's pretty small.
Yeah. Pete, do you have any questions?
So the curb cut, I'm just looking at this diagram here, the curb cut is on the right side of the right side of the parking space, so that when coming in, or is the curb cut the length of the property?
I'm actually not sure. Can you guys-
Because we got the parking space on the left side.
The curb cut's not the width of the property.
Okay.
It's an entry for a single car.
8 feet, apron, there's an apron there, it's like 8 feet or something like that.
It used to be a single family home with a curb cut for a driveway.
For, yeah, single car driveway.
So the way I'm envisioning this is you pull into the curb cut, there's concrete to the right where there's parking spots, and then the driveway continues on to the garage with the garage door.
Yeah, I mean, that's how this one's supposed to be drawn. We can move the parking spots closer to the front.
Is the fence, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
is the fence going to remain there? That's there, so that's coming down the fence on that side of the property?
Yeah, we want to integrate the property in the front.
Okay. Is that gonna be reinstalled to the sidewalk?
The fence.
Right.
The historic fence.
The historic fence?
I don't have any plans to extend it right now.
All right.
Steve, what are we exactly approving then on this application?
So what this would turn into is an approval for front yard parking, an area variance for front yard parking.
And we would give him a distinct where it could be.
Yep. Number of spaces, approximate size of spaces. I mean, one way to alleviate this is if the applicant just put the parking in the rear of the building. I mean, that wouldn't require variance at all.
How would he do that, though?
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it takes up the full foot, I understand that, but it takes up the garage, whatever you're calling this.
Yeah.
It takes up the full footprint.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really go to the left or the right of this.
Well, I mean, we can change the specs. Like I said, this is just a drawing in.
Drive through the building.
Well, you could bring the building to the front as if it were a
Yeah,
house.
but how would you get the cars behind the building?
You could
In the
make it-
driveway.
the building narrower but longer.
Right, just do the long ways.
I'd rather just put them.
Yeah, so, I mean, basically what we're looking at tonight is the approval of the concept of front yard parking.
Right, right.
You could require them to come back for a site plan review, or go to site plan review again, once they have elevations and design. Because they initially went to the planning commission. The planning commission, when it was determined that they wanted to install this front yard parking, did
Yeah,
not approve the
variance, yeah.
So that puts them here. So what you guys can do is theoretically just approve or deny, whatever you want to do with front yard parking, and then they'll have to go back to the planning commission for a site plan review.
Yeah, I mean, we don't own the property until next week. I have no architects or engineers.
Right.
This was a preliminary drawing by our board member. I mean, who is an engineer, but.
Once again, the zoning code, doesn't want to see, front yard parking. I mean, especially there, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, our job here is to try to provide the least, the least variance that we can. I guess that's the best way to put it, and do you want to go look at it and talk about it, and then maybe, because we need to know what measurement you want away from the actual garage, and so we can approve that particular where you want to put it. Because just saying, oh, you can have front yard parking, I mean, we would like to see exactly what, I mean, it would be nice to see where the parking, and, because the way that I see this right now, we see what you want to do, but there isn't really a clear indication of where the pavement's going to be.
So we're not really that married to these two parking spots. If I had known ahead of time how much trouble this would be.
It's really not.
So you're saying the parking is for the executive director?
So if the I mean, you could almost make, depending on, how large the driveway is, that could just be the parking.
Yeah,
And
my
other-
predecessor, I think, thought these parking spots would be easy. So
Yeah, I think we
can
just
give
park.
more specs.
Do you want to do that?
No, not
No.
really.
So
What do you wanna
It's
do?
a silly question,
Sure.
but I just don't know. Once this lot has been integrated into it has been integrated into the larger lot,
Sure.
and it's gonna have a building, a maintenance building in the back. Where is this a front yard? It's just space in front of a
So-
maintenance building.
Yeah, so the code specifically says that corner lots that have facing on both streets,
Mhm.
both of those are treated as a front yard.
Okay.
So that's where this comes up, is a corner lot is uniquely situated and then has two front yards.
So did you make this a corner lot?
No,
Oh,
it's always
okay.
been a corner lot. I mean, the parcel faces on 3 streets, basically, because you have the giant park there. So you're fronting on, everything you can see from the sidewalk, basically, is a front yard.
I recognize that you might think it's inconsequential, but it is
No,
important
I
to
know,
the,
I'm
to the
just
code.
not
To the code.
married to these parking spots.
Okay,
So the amount of work that's gone into this parking spots is all kind of outgrown my desire to have the parking spots.
And this will be a stupid statement, but how are you gonna patrol the neighbors next door that are not gonna park in those parking spots? Do you wanna deal with that?
No, that's a good question.
Because they already took over that empty lot.
Right.
They're gonna see, great parking spots, and that's where they're gonna,
Although
you're
I
not
mean,
open.
Problem exists to some extent anyways without purchasing the lot.
Right.
There's gotta be a driveway there.
well, now you can extend the fence and just fence it off to the park.
You know?
But indeed, an option could be that if there was just driveway there, 2 people could park in it during the day,
Yeah. and that's the
without
intention.
making parking spots, and then there wouldn't be an issue of front yard parking.
Yeah, so during the day, that wouldn't be an issue.
Steve, if there's no parking spots, is there any reason for them to be here this evening?
No?
What would you request? Do you want to request to table this, and come back with a better drawing and plans, or do you just want to say forget it?
No, I'm willing to just say forget it.
Okay.
Do we not,
Okay.
do we not have to approve the lot line adjustment?
No.
Planning with that.
So the lot line adjustment.
Got it.
is the same. So what you guys would need to do is approve the concept of the actual maintenance garage.
And so we would come back to request that action, I'm
Right,
sorry, Steve,
okay.
because we haven't, again, we haven't had architects or engineers create. This is
Okay.
a crude drawing by one of our board members to illustrate the rough area.
Okay,
So do we table it?
so I get,
You wouldn't table it if the applicant.
because this is a different
It's
application.
different
It's a
application,
withdrawing
so-
application.
Yeah.
So he's
Deny
withdrawing
it.
this application.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll withdraw.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think we have to do anything here. Thank you.
Yeah.
See you again.
Wow. It's a great night. What? All right, so, coming to the next application, for 25 Wilcox Avenue. Who's here to represent that?
I am Chris Yakabuchi,
Thank you.
Public Works Director for the City of Oneonta.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm also here with Brenda Sport Wilcox House, and we're here to talk to you about a project we'd like to construct a barn at the Sport Wilcox property. And you know, Sport Wilcox House is the oldest homestead in the city, and at one time had a barn there. And this is kind of not exactly replacing the barn, because it also has an element of temperature control to store artifacts. They have a lot of artifacts, and some of it sits outside in the cold, and they want to protect those artifacts so they can last a long time. So part of this project is providing a temperature controlled area plus the barn, and we'd be relocating barn timbers. So timber rafters and vertical and horizontal timbers from a barn that's being donated to Sport Wilcox House. Carrie, can you?
Which one do you want
show
first?
Yeah, the drawings.
The drawing, I got the site plan, proposed site plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think in your packet you all have the site plan.
Yeah, they're just really small. Yeah.
Um,
It is, quite small.
So that's the barn. I don't know how familiar you are all with the site, but that's our existing driveway coming up from Wilcox Avenue. We have a barn site, we have the house down below, I don't care if you can zoom out a little bit, yeah, so that's the house. There's a little patio to corn crib, and they wanna build the, new barn, temperature control facility next to like the tree lines, actually inside the tree line just a little bit. To the upper part of the parcel, if you scroll further, Gary, that fence, that's our apple orchard that we planted. There was an apple orchard there previously, and last year we planted apple trees to reinstate the apple orchard. So we would like to situate the barn between the apple orchard, the corn crib, and we'd like to extend the existing roadway up and then provide some handicap parking in that area.
I'm Marla Slauson, and I'm on the board of the Sora Wilcox Museum. I would just like to add to Chris's statement that last week, the Landmark and Historic Structures Committee approved the barn, the structure. So, you know, we're one step closer to where we want to be, and we desperately need a facility for larger meetings and a climate controlled area. We have a lot of artifacts in the house that are deteriorating because we have primary documents, we have clothing, textiles, all kinds of things that need to be in a climate controlled area. We cannot provide that in the museum itself. So,
So to clarify why this application is here, the actual structure that's being built is a permitted use, it's just an accessory structure to the Swart Wilcox house. The reason this is at, well, it requires site plan review because it's a structure over 200 square feet. So it's pretty straightforward, it's just like a garage or any other accessory structure. The reason this is specifically here is because they're extending parking into the front lawn of the property. So this is in an R2 zone, the R2 zone says you can't build in parking, it specifically says you can't build in parking in the front lawn. Obviously, this is a very unique situation as it's not a residential use, it's a museum that's been there for 30, 40 years. 1975. So this is a pre-existing, non-conforming use, and that's why this is kind of a unique situation.
We're,
Also a lot of front yard. The whole lot is front yard.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to put the parking in any place that isn't defined as front yard.
sure.
We
Is
don't
there-
wanna keep the natural setting, we don't wanna take down a lot of trees, you know, so to put the parking on the back side of the building or would require, grading work and tree removals, and we really don't wanna do that with the site. Plus, it also, there are archaeological issues beyond that footprint.
Was there ever parking on there?
Yeah, no, not this type of parking.
Not this type of parking, okay.
And how many spots are you planning on parking?
4,
4?
1 handicap and 3 shade.
Okay.
Carrie, can you zoom
Yeah, I was
that
gonna
whole
say-
thing right there?
I was gonna ask where they would be located, to the right of it?
Right here.
Right there, okay.
So we go off the end of the existing driveway, which is gravel, and this would all remain gravel.
Okay,
We would do hardscape, for the ADA parking so that, you know, the wheelchair would sink to the ground. We're gonna be putting brick path around the barn so that they would be able to access the ADA accessible doors.
can you fit another ADA in there? Like, you know, why just that expansive parking? Why not another, I mean, the people that are,
Another ADA spot.
yeah, I'm just curious about that. Like, you know, like why, you're going for this right now and we're looking to do this. The people that are coming here might have mobility issues and I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity there to potentially, you know, in this situation, you know, I mean, cause what do you have there? You have 4 spots, one of them is ADA?
Yeah, we could certainly add another ADA spot, that's not a problem.
Would it be used? I mean, do you think it would be used?
Just as a question for you guys, do you have a lot of,
well, no.
handicap?
don't think I'm allowed to say old people, you say senior citizens, I don't know.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of older people who
Sure.
come to our program.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just wonder if that would be, if, while we're going for this, I don't know what, what's another, however many foot, especially on the other side of that, because you can almost get two right there, right, Chris? I mean,
You want me to just put one on? the
I don't know,
outside?
I think you know better than me what it would look like,
Here, or where are you?
Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, is it, does
Is
it,
it possible to put it on the other side?
I don't see a problem with that. Do you have an objection to that? That's not a problem.
No, we do have a number of people who come on walkers and in wheelchairs.
The only thing is we're getting really close to that fence up there on that side, so maybe
By
you
the
might want to
orchard.
shift it this way.
By the orchard.
Yeah. So maybe you have a handicap spot where it is now, one on the other side of the hatched area
Yeah.
versus typical right there.
yeah.
Yeah. We do programs every
Yeah.
Sunday in July and August, and we have sometimes 55 people on the front lawn. So,
Yeah, to be completely honest, they're telling me at the events that they have now, there are cars parked all over the lawn area.
Yeah, I've seen them
They're
there,
all
yeah, I've seen them there.
Likely that is likely gonna continue to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's temporary.
And once you have this space, you'll be able to have programs at times other than July. right?
exactly, and inside,
Inside.
and we have PowerPoint, et cetera. Right now, we do them on the lawn, and PowerPoint is impossible.
So the site still will not be utilized in the winter time.
No, it's closed.
Just a temperature control, a small area on one end of the building. I don't know if we flip to the building architectural drawings. That was a good one.
That was, I was just gonna say, as soon as I went by it.
So basically from where your hand is, where your hand was. So where your hand is now, that area is not temperature controlled. The other area is. That area is temperature controlled.
And the restrooms are ADA compliant.
But still, even with it being not available in the winter, there's a lot more of the year when you will be able to use that space.
Yeah. Basically, we have, people parking there during July and August for our summer Sunday programs. And many of them are elderly. I can only think of a couple of times, maybe there's someone in a wheelchair. The house is handicap accessible, the museum itself is. We would hate to see, if something happened and we didn't have parking for these people and they were coming across and it's unlevel, there are wood chuck holes.
And Walmart.
If someone were to fall, the
And
city
Walmart.
would have a liability because it's city property.
So it is difficult to sometimes
Yeah.
access that particular point there, and this would mitigate a lot of that, I think.
We have had a student in a wheelchair, fourth grade, because we program sometimes in fourth grade. And there was a fourth grade student in a wheelchair.
All right, Doug, do you have any questions for the applicant? Lori?
No, I don't.
Pete? Louise?
Not really, just, utilities, is there a need to increase utility services there, or what does that look like?
So
The fine print's really fine.
Power will be provided from the house itself, water provided from the house, and sewer as well.
Okay.
Because actually, if you go back to the site plan, Gary, we show the utility locations, utility problems. Okay, so I lied. Water and electric are coming from the house, and sewer is going out to the street. The SAN, yeah,
Okay.
that's the sewer line. My mistake.
Steve, the seeker was already completed, correct? Okay. So I think we need, is everybody okay with this? Does anybody have any other questions for the? All right, I think we have to, somebody has to make a motion to approve this application with the addition of the, I think you call it is it handicap accessible? ADA accessible parking spot. Put where, it's not on there right now, but where it will fit properly for the dimensions.
I'll keep 4 spots and just, I'll make one of them another handicap spot.
Yeah.
So moved.
Well, that wasn't my original intention.
You're saying 2 different things, right? So
Yeah,
before
yeah,
you,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that wasn't my
Yeah,
original
5.
intention.
5 spots.
I think that, I think in this circumstance, if possible, I think that's what I look at.
Okay.
If there's enough room.
If there's room, I don't know all the dimensions there, I'm just trying to,
I think there's room.
is that what you were thinking, Doug?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Not to reduce the number of non-ADA spots, but to add an ADA spot.
I apologize, I didn't understand.
Yeah, okay. Is that what you thought, Lori?
Yes,
Okay,
that's what I thought we were,
okay.
that I was moving on.
Okay.
That was my movement.
Do you need me to restate it?
Nope, I just need a second.
Have you,
Okay.
I'll second that.
have you moved?
I had moved it.
Has anyone seconded it?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody seconded, I think.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Tomato,
Yes.
Vice Chair Montanti,
Yes.
Commissioner Aruda,
Yes.
Commissioner Zanowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Kendall,
Yes.
passes.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do.
If you all have a second, I can bring my office and talk to you about the bidding.
All right, is there any other comments or
Thanks,
concerns?
Chris.
Is there anybody in the audience that needs to say anything? No? Okay. All right.